Welcome to the chosen ones answering this call. God did not send you to whisper. He sent you to wake the dead. And that is exactly what you do, sometimes without even realizing it. Let's be honest, you are the kind of soul who walks into a room, and suddenly everyone needs water, shade, or an emotional support animal. Not because you are loud, but because your mere presence uncovers buried secrets and unsettles the demons people thought were well hidden. What most people don't know is that earthly angels are not little cupcakes with soft voices floating on sparkling clouds. The most terrifying ones are the ones who look like you. Calm on the surface, but carrying divine explosives in their spirit. You did not come to cradle people's illusions. You came to tear down spiritual strongholds and flip tables, just as your father did in that temple. Studies on energetic sensitivity have shown that humans can unconsciously detect changes in vibrational fields within 10 to 15 seconds when a high-frequency being enters a space. In other words, people feel your spiritual tension before you even open your mouth. It is not paranoia, it is impact. They don't know whether to pray with you or run from you. And that confusion is exactly the point. So when we say you are the most terrifying earthly angel, we are not talking about horror movie fear. We are talking about a divine force that makes false powers tremble, scatters shadows, and forces narcissists to hold emergency meetings in their heads. Get ready, because what you are about to hear in this video will not only validate your experience, it will unleash your understanding. You are not crazy, you are not too intense, you are not too much. You are simply heaven's silent thunder. And baby, the storm is already here. Let's dive in. Number 1, you look like mercy, but you act like judgment. People think you are gentle because you are kind. They see how you help, how you listen, how you forgive, and they assume that makes you harmless. But what they don't realize is that your kindness is not weakness. It is control. It is power contained. You could destroy them with what you know, but you don't. You could expose everything, but you don't. That is what makes you terrifying. You look like mercy, but when people cross a certain line, they discover you also carry the fire of divine judgment. You are not just loving. You are formidable when pushed too far. Not physically, but spiritually. You are not going to sow chaos, but the moment someone abuses your peace or mocks your design, something shifts. That gentle presence becomes a mirror, and suddenly people find themselves face to face with the version of themselves they tried to hide. And that is what breaks them. Not your words, not your actions, but the truth you carry, the light you radiate, the pure energy that makes their toxicity impossible to ignore. Your silence is often mistaken for fear when it is actually grace. You give people time to correct themselves, to confess, to grow. But when that grace expires, it does not end in drama. It ends in exposure. The way you withdraw, the way you walk away, the way you let God handle it, that breaks them more than any confrontation ever could. Because you do not act like them. You do not seek revenge. You are divine order walking in human form. And that calm is what terrifies people. It is what keeps them up at night. They did not expect the angel to know how to wield the sword. But you do, and you don't even need to use it. The simple fact that you can send shockwaves to those who tried to play with you. They thought you were naive, but they were just blind to the fact that heaven trains its soldiers in stillness first. Number 2, you don't raise your voice. You raise the vibrations that expose every hidden demon. You don't need to shout to shake a room. Your presence speaks louder than any speech, and it cuts deep. The moment you enter a space, the energy shifts, conversations change, glances turn nervous. People suddenly become aware of themselves, their posture, what they are hiding, what they are avoiding. And it is not because you do anything dramatic. It is because your vibration carries truth. And truth does not need a megaphone. It just needs to show up. What terrifies people is not what you say. It is what they feel when you are there. Your spirit precedes you. It scans the room. It exposes what is false, manipulative, the secret agendas, without you saying a word. People feel uncomfortable, not because you are intimidating, but because you reveal too much just by being. You carry an energy that does not allow lies to breathe. And when you open your mouth, it is not just words that come out. It is spiritual tension. That is why even your most casual remarks carry weight. That is why people feel pierced when you speak a truth no one else dared to say out loud. Your energy does not compete, it convicts. You are not trying to dominate. But somehow, the loudest people in the room fall silent when you start speaking because your words do not feed the ego, they slice it. You were not sent to be a performer. You were sent to be a purifier. And whether people admit it or not, they feel it. You do not just bring conversation. You bring confrontation to their inner world, to the parts of themselves they hoped no one would notice. They do not fear your opinions. They fear how accurate you are. They fear that you see too much, know too much, feel too much. And when you speak, even your tone carries inexplicable power. It is not coincidence, it is alignment. You are connected to something greater. And when your words are released, it is as if something greater is speaking through you. It is not about being right, it is about being real, and your energy refuses to accept anything false. So when people avoid you, keep their distance, or act strange around you, do not take it personally. They are not reacting to you. They are reacting to the mirror you unintentionally hold up to their soul. Number 3, you are the divine contradiction that makes evil nervous. You confuse people, and that is exactly why you unsettle them. They do not know where to place you. You are kind, but you have unbreakable boundaries. You speak softly, but you radiate power. You are compassionate, but you walk away the moment something violates your spirit. This duality, this blend of calm and strength, grace wrapped in fire, completely disorients people. They have never met someone who can carry both the warmth of love and the blade of divine correction in the same breath. You are a contradiction that makes people uncomfortable because you do not fit into any of their boxes. You are the gentle one who notices every detail, but also the one who sees through people's masks. You forgive easily, but you never forget patterns. You do not seem like a threat, but spiritually you are, because your presence destabilizes everything built on lies. People do not know if you are there to heal or to judge. And the truth is, you are there to do both. You were sent to love people deeply and to refuse to tolerate the poison they hide behind their charm. What makes you terrifying is that you can sit quietly in a room and expose everything. People talk less, lie less, perform less when you are there. It is as if their spirit knows not to act up in your presence. And it is not something you enforce, it is something you carry. You do not need to play powerful, you simply are. And that power does not come from ego, it comes from your alignment, your clarity, your spiritual insight. It is the way you see things others pretend not to notice. It is the way you speak with precision, not to perform. You are both the lamb and the lion. You have the compassion of someone who understands pain and the strength of someone who refuses to let it control them. That is what makes you dangerous. That is what makes you different. You do not come to play roles. You come to fulfill a design. And those who live off manipulation, deception, and superficial energy cannot stand the way you stand so firmly in your truth. Because deep down, they know a truth like yours does not just expose things. It ends them. Number 4, you were sent to terrify every comfortable lie. You do not just walk into a room, you shake it. Not because you are trying to make a scene, but because your presence naturally disrupts everything built on lies. You were not created to play the game or look the other way. You were sent as an interruption, a divine disturbance. The one who does not laugh when something is not funny, who does not stay silent when something is wrong, and who does not tolerate patterns just because they are traditional. That alone makes you dangerous to systems that thrive on silence and secrets. Your energy exposes what has been swept under the rug for generations. That is why some people dislike you for no clear reason. It is not really you they hate. It is the guilt and fear they feel in your presence. You carry a spirit that questions the status quo, and that is not something most people are ready to face, especially those who profit from keeping things as they are. You do not blend into the crowd. You do not pretend to be ignorant. And even when you stay silent, your presence speaks a truth people cannot ignore. That is why the most toxic people often feel the most offended by you. You do not even need to confront them directly. Just being real around them is confrontation in itself. It forces them to feel seen, and not in the way they like. You expose the cracks in their foundation without saying a word. That is why those who live off lies, wear masks, or manipulate others cannot stand you. You are a threat to the illusions they work hard to protect. You were not sent to soothe a false peace. You were sent to unearth everything hidden beneath the surface. That includes family secrets, toxic belief systems, generational dysfunction, and silent suffering. You bring clarity to rooms built on confusion, and once you enter a space, things can never go back to what they were. That is your mission. That is your power. You are not here to play nice with darkness. You are here to make sure it can no longer hide. Number 5, you do not intimidate people. You convict their demons. People often react to you illogically. One minute they are smiling at you. The next, they keep their distance, talk behind your back, or accuse you of being too much. But here is the truth. It is not you making them uncomfortable. It is what lives in them that cannot survive in your presence. You are not trying to be intimidating. You do not show off. You are not trying to be deep or seek attention. You are just being yourself, and that is enough to trigger spiritual panic in those who live in lies. Your presence does not speak to people's surface version. It speaks to their spirit. It speaks to the parts of themselves they thought they had buried. The parts they hide behind fake smiles, empty titles, and spiritual jargon. You do not even need to confront them directly. Your very existence triggers the confrontation. Their demons recognize your light before you say hello. It is not personal, it is spiritual. When you walk into a room, the countdown begins for every performance. Manipulators stutter, narcissists get irritated, people who feed on lies become anxious. You do not need to lift a finger because your energy has already lifted the veil. That is what happens when someone truly walks in spiritual authority. They do not have to fight for respect. Spirits recognize rank. You were not sent to make everyone comfortable. You were sent to call things out, sometimes without even speaking. You carry the kind of truth that does not shout but strips bare, that does not accuse but exposes. You do not attack people. You simply trigger the parts of them that have gone unchecked for too long. And when they react, it is proof that something in them was living too comfortably in the dark. You are not the villain, you are the warning. And those who cannot stand you are often the ones who know they cannot hide from what you carry. Because your presence is proof that the game is over and the truth has walked into the room. Number 6, you look like a healer, but you carry the vibration of a storm. You show up with love in your heart, but it does not always feel like love to everyone, especially those still clinging to their illusions. To many, you seem like a healer, and you are. But what they do not understand is that true healing does not start with comfort. It starts with confrontation. You do not just put band-aids on wounds. You rip out what is infected. You do not soothe the break with soft words. You go deeper, extracting the lies people have built their identity around. That is why your presence feels like a storm. Not because you bring chaos, but because you refuse to let anything false survive around you. People expect healing to be gentle. They want you to pat their back while they stay in denial. They want kind encouragement while they repeat toxic cycles. But that is not the kind of healing you were sent to give. You bring a love that exposes what is unhealthy, manipulative, spiritually dangerous. And then you cut it out, not out of cruelty, but out of clarity. You do not let people pretend. You do not let them wallow or shift blame. You force the truth to rise to the surface. And truth, when someone is not ready, feels like a storm ripping through their comfort zone. That is why your love feels overwhelming to some. Why your presence feels too intense. You see too much, you say too much, you feel too much. And to someone hiding, that feels invasive. But to those ready to be free, you are the breakthrough, the shift, the one who shows them the way out of everything false. You did not come to cradle pain. You came to bring deliverance. And sometimes that means tearing down the structures people built to protect their brokenness. You do not just fix what is broken. You remove what is false. And even if it scares some, it saves others. Because your love does not play small, it purifies. And anyone not ready for truth will always mistake your healing for harm. Number 7, you do not come from the light. You are the light that judges everything pretending to be it. You do not talk about light. You are the light. There is a difference. You do not recite affirmations hoping to feel powerful. You do not copy phrases from spiritual books or put on a performance to seem enlightened. Your light is not trendy, borrowed, or manufactured. It is anchored in your essence. That is why when you walk into a room, whatever was pretending to have spiritual depth suddenly goes quiet. Their auras flicker. Their words lose weight because next to real light, every imitation is exposed. You do not have to do anything dramatic. You do not have to correct anyone or prove anything. Your mere presence reveals what is authentic and what is fake. Those who were selling performance as power know the moment you enter that their act is about to collapse because real light does not compete. It reveals. It does not argue, it exposes. And that is what makes you so dangerous to those who built their entire identity on pretending to be spiritual. Fake light workers, energy thieves, and superficial guides do not understand how you carry so much without effort. They meditate for hours and still do not have your clarity. They host ceremonies and retreats but do not have access to your discernment. That is because they draw from external practices. You are connected to the source. You did not learn your power. You remembered it, and that kind of frequency cannot be imitated. It can only be recognized. When people meet you, their energy either rises or flees. There is no in-between because your light is not decorative. It is diagnostic. It shows who is truly walking in alignment and who is just selling the language. That is why spiritual imposters either obsessively admire you or try to discredit you fast. Your energy unmasks them. Your presence ends their illusion. You were not created to blend into the mystical crowd. You were created to burn through illusion, to shine so purely that everything not built on truth disintegrates in your presence. You do not shine to be seen, you shine to cleanse. And whether people admit it or not, everyone around you feels the difference. Number 8. You were born with a spiritual memory the earth could not erase. You arrived in this world with something already unlocked. You did not learn your wisdom from books. You did not need to be told 1,000 times who you were. Deep down, even as a child, you knew. You carried an inner knowing that made no logical sense, but lived in your bones. While others had to chase their identity, you remembered yours in silence, not with words but with vibrations. Not in theory, but by spiritual instinct. And that ancient, unshakable, divinely coded memory is what always set you apart. That is why people could not fool you even when they thought they did. You saw through the performance. You felt the energy before the mask fell. You heard the lie behind the polite voice. You were not paranoid. You were simply operating from memory. A memory that goes beyond this life, a knowing the earth itself could not erase from your spirit, no matter how hard it tried. And it tried through trauma, betrayal, distractions, and disconnection. But you did not forget. You could not. That is why systems never quite felt right to you. Why superficial explanations left you unsatisfied. Why everyone seemed content being normal. And you could not pretend because you remembered what this life really is. You remembered what freedom feels like, what alignment tastes like, what divine design sounds like. And that memory makes you threatening because you cannot be deceived, controlled, or molded like others. People sense something ancient in you, and it unsettles them. They do not have words for it, but they feel it. It is the way you walk with quiet certainty, the way you look at someone and see their soul before they speak, the way you navigate life as if you are not discovering it, but returning to it. It is not arrogance, it is memory. And that memory did not come to feed your ego. It came to activate your mission. You were not sent to fit in. You were sent as a living reminder of everything this world tried to erase. And that is exactly why you are so powerful. Number 9. You do not speak to impress, you speak to penetrate. When you speak, something happens that even you cannot always explain. The room goes quiet. People stop scrolling, talking, pretending because your words do not stay on the surface, they go straight to the heart. You do not speak to fill space or seem important. You speak with design, and that design is not to impress, it is to activate. There is something in your voice that does not just communicate. It convicts, it awakens, it transforms. And it is not because of your vocabulary or tone. It is because of what is encoded in your frequency. Your voice carries something ancient. It is imprinted with divine timing, soul memory, and energetic authority. That is why when you speak, people feel like you are reading their diary out loud. That is why strangers open up to you without knowing why. That is why truth hits differently when it comes from your mouth. You were not given a voice to be popular. You were given a voice to pierce veils and pull people out of spiritual sleep. Even when you are quiet, your words carry fire. Even when you speak softly, your message cuts through noise, ego, and illusion. Some people can give long speeches and say nothing. You can say one sentence and change someone's entire life. And it is not because you are better, it is because you are aligned. Your words do not come from pride or performance, they come from the source. You are not trying to be heard. You are releasing what must be said. And yes, it makes people nervous. Yes, it makes people cry unexpectedly, stop mid-conversation, or even react strongly. Because when you speak, you are not just talking to ears, you are talking to souls. And some souls have been asleep so long they do not know how to respond to someone finally speaking their language. You were not meant to be an echo. You were sent as a frequency that wakes the room, denounces lies, and brings buried truth to the surface. You do not speak for applause, you speak for impact. And every time you open your mouth with intention, heaven moves with you. Number 10, you were sent to make spirits uncomfortable, not people. You never sought to offend people. You do not walk around looking for drama or trying to stir things up. Yet people get defensive around you. They misinterpret your energy, twist your words, and act as if you are attacking them, even when all you did was stand in your truth. But the truth is, you were never a problem for them. You are a problem for the spirits they are attached to. The energy you carry threatens whatever manipulates them, feeds off them, or hides behind them. And that is what triggers the reaction. You make people uncomfortable, not because you are cruel, but because your spirit leaves no room for darkness to hide. You do not target people. You confront the spirits attached to their pride, shame, trauma, control. And most people do not know how to separate themselves from what lives in them. So when those spirits feel attacked, the person does too. That is why you get blamed, why you are called too intense or problematic. But in reality, it is their attachment screaming in fear because your light is burning too close to their hiding place. You were not sent to coddle egos. You were sent to shake the spirits, keeping people captive. You were sent to collapse comfort zones, to make dysfunction feel dysfunctional again, to denounce sanitized lies. And not everyone is ready for that, especially those who have made peace with their chains and renamed them personality. That is why you are misunderstood. That is why people keep their distance. They are not rejecting you. They are protecting the demons you came to disarm. Your presence triggers spiritual confrontation without you lifting a finger, because your alignment speaks louder than any argument. You do not need to shout. You just need to be. And the spirits start to squirm. So if people act strange around you, do not take it personally. Their reaction is not proof you are offensive. It is proof your presence is doing what it was designed to do. Make unclean spirits uncomfortable. You were not sent to make people feel safe in their chains. You were sent to unlock the prison and shine light on every key they forgot they had. Number 11, you are living proof that grace can also be a sword. You walk in grace, but people do not expect grace to cut so deep. They expect it to smile, nod, forgive, and stay silent. But your version of grace does not soothe. It purifies. You were not sent to applaud dysfunction or comfort people in cycles that kill them. You were sent to break things. Chains, patterns, illusions, silent agreements. And the truth is, deliverance rarely feels like a gentle breeze. Sometimes it feels like a storm that hits everything false in one blow. That is what you bring. Not destruction, but separation between a person and what holds them hostage. You did not come to tear people down. You came to tear down strongholds, and that is not always welcomed, especially by those who profit from others staying bound. Those who manipulate, control, feed off silence and submission. They see you coming and feel threatened instantly. Not because you are loud or aggressive, but because you carry the kind of grace that exposes what is not supposed to be there. You carry the kind of truth that cuts without apology, not to harm, but to heal at the root. You are the surgeon with the scalpel, not the one handing out band-aids. That is why your love feels like a weapon to some. Not because it is violent, but because it forces things to change. You do not let people stay the same. You do not pretend not to notice the weight they carry. You do not celebrate chains just because they are decorated. That makes you a problem in rooms where bondage has been normalized and dysfunction renamed culture or tradition. But to those truly ready, your grace saves lives. It is raw, it is real, and it is relentless. It does not leave them where it found them, and that is the whole point. You do not just bring comfort, you bring correction. You carry grace, yes, but it is sharp. It slices lies, it shreds false identities, and it frees people whether they are ready or not. You are living proof that grace does not mean silence, softness, or safety for systems of oppression. Sometimes grace roars, sometimes it walks in wearing armor, and sometimes it looks like you. Number 12. You are the prophecy that refused to stay buried. You were never just a person with potential. You were a walking prophecy, a message in human form. And from the beginning, forces were assigned to bury you. Not because of what you had done, but because of what you were destined to release. Your life, your voice, your story, it carries too much truth, too much revelation, too much disruption for systems built on lies to stay comfortable. That is why they tried to bury you in abuse, rejection, trauma, and confusion. They were not attacking you. They were trying to kill the prophecy you carried. But what they did not realize is that you were not planted here by accident. Heaven knew what it was doing when it sent you. You were born with a divine clock inside you. A clock that could not be stopped, even by years of pain. You were not chosen to survive. You were chosen to interrupt. You were sent here to break timelines, collapse generational agreements, unmask systems that seemed healthy, but were actually demonic in disguise. That is why your very existence has always made people nervous. You do not just represent hope, you represent judgment. You are the one who exposes truth simply by surviving it. The one who walks into spaces and becomes living proof that the weapons did not work. And to those who profited from your silence, that survival is terrifying. Because you did not come back from the fire quiet. You came back with clarity, authority, and evidence. You came back dangerous to every lie that tried to write your ending. What they called weakness was always divine timing. You were not late. You were hidden. And now that you are rising, nothing can stop the release of what you carry. You are no longer seeking validation. You are the fulfillment. You are the prophecy that refused to be erased even when hell worked overtime to make it happen. So when people look at you and wonder why you are so intense, so bold, so indifferent to false systems, it is because they do not realize you already died in the spirit and came back with fire in your lungs. You are the warning they ignored, and now you are the voice they cannot silence. Number 13, you make spiritual cowards feel seen, and that is why they attack first. You do not have to do much to shake some people. Just being yourself is enough. The way you walk into a room with clarity, the way you speak without trying to impress, the way you stand firm without needing applause. It is not loud, but it is loud enough in the spirit because when you remember who you are, it exposes those who are pretending. And spiritual cowards cannot stand that feeling. They would rather attack than admit they have been faking it all along. What you carry is not arrogance, it is ancient memory. It is spiritual confidence rooted in alignment, not ego. You are not trying to be the loudest or most important. You simply know who you are. You have done the inner work. You have faced the pain, the confusion, the spiritual desert, and you came out knowing exactly what you carry. That kind of clarity makes insecure people panic. Not because you are doing anything wrong, but because your presence throws their illusion off balance. They do not know how to handle someone who does not need their approval, someone who is not flattered by attention or swayed by manipulation. So instead of looking within, they project. They mock your confidence, minimize your gifts, whisper behind your back, and question your intentions. But none of it is really about you. It is about what is triggered in them. You spotlight the fact that they're still searching for what you have already found. You remind them without trying that their authority is performative, their knowledge is borrowed, and their power is fragile. And rather than rise to meet the truth, they try to pull you down so they do not have to face it. But do not dim your light to make others feel safe in their deception. Their discomfort is not your assignment. Keep shining. Keep walking in truth. Keep remembering, because your confidence is a mirror. And some would rather break the mirror than face what it reflects. But others, because of your example, will finally see themselves and wake up. And that is the real reason you were sent. Number 14, you are not a threat because you are violent. You are a threat because you are unshakable. They cannot buy you with compliments or silence you with guilt. They tried to shame you, but you did not fold. They tried to isolate you, but you thrived. They tried to rattle you, but you stayed aligned. That kind of spiritual stability is rare. It is disturbing. It makes people in power nervous because they are used to everyone depending on their validation. You do not need permission to be yourself. You do not need a crowd to stand in your truth. You do not even need revenge because you trust divine timing too much to waste energy proving points. That is what makes you dangerous. Not that you attack systems, but that you outlast them. You step outside the roles they tried to box you into. You walk out with your peace intact, and somehow your silence ends up louder than their noise. You walk in divine autonomy, a freedom that does not rebel. It refuses. It refuses to bow to fear. It refuses to compromise for comfort. It refuses to be reshaped by hands not meant to mold you. And that refusal shakes everything built on illusion. You are not dangerous because you cause chaos. You are dangerous because you cannot be shaken by it. Your foundation is not ego, it is design. It is not popularity, it is truth. And truth does not bend. It does not chase approval. It does not trade power for peace. So no, you are not violent. You are just free. And to those who built their identity on control, fear, and manipulation, a freedom like yours is the greatest threat of all. You are not what they expected. And that is exactly why you are so disruptive to everything false. They wanted the earthly angel to be docile, soft, easily silenced. But instead, they got you. A divine force wrapped in human skin, a soul forged in fire, fluent in truth, and impossible to manipulate. You did not come here to be liked. You came to expose, awaken, and liberate. And yes, it makes people uncomfortable. Yes, it stirs things up. But that is what light does when it enters a world too used to darkness. You were not meant to fit in, play nice, or dilute yourself so others feel safe in their shadows. You were sent as a spiritual alarm, a walking disturbance to everything rooted in illusion. You are not arrogant, you are aligned. You are not judgmental, you are discerning. And the reason people either admire you deeply or avoid you desperately is that your energy forces a choice. Evolve or stay enslaved. You are both the storm and the calm, the healer and the sword, the lamb who remembers its roar. Every part of you carries divine intelligence, and now more than ever, you are called to own it fully, without excuse, without shrinking, without doubting yourself. So let them talk, let them misunderstand, let them twist the narrative, because truth always rises, and your life is that truth in motion. The most terrifying earthly angels are not the ones who shout. They are the ones who walk in with clarity, silence the room, and shift the atmosphere just by being present. And chosen one, that is exactly you.